Good morning, Mr. Ravindranath Dabare. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. My name is Masha Goni and I'm the leader of our team. Our project is entitled Speak Freely, the Fight for Freedom of Speech. My fellow team members are Karoli Malinsa, Maisha Osain, Netmi Kiara, and Hasina Rifa. In order to gain insight into the legal perspectives of free speech, we're conducting interviews and we greatly value your expertise in this area. The purpose of our conversation is to explore various aspects of freedom of speech from a legal standpoint. It is possible to discuss recent legal developments, notable cases, the balance between free speech and other societal interests, as well as any emerging challenges. As a constitutional lawyer and an expert on freedom of speech, your expertise and insight are invaluable to us. As a result of your perspective, our discussion will have a great deal of depth. To begin with, we want to ask, how would you define freedom of speech?
Yeah, actually, freedom of speech is a ability or ability of a person to express his or her views on anything and hold any opinion, right? Hold any opinion without any interference, without any hindrance, or without being subjected to punishment. So nobody should be able to normally according to the right to express any opinion without censorship or restraint, the move would further harm freedom of speech in the region. So there cannot be any limitation. You can have your own opinion, but freedom of expression, of course, has to be exercised, subjected to certain limitations, because now if we are verbally stating something, or if we are writing something, the others' dignity and others' reputation should not be tarnished. And we do not have any right to attack the reputation of others. That is the limitation. And in some countries, that if anything affects the security concerns of that country, there are certain restrictions.
Okay, and followingly, Taruga also has a question.
In your experience, what role does international law play in addressing violations of freedom of speech, and are there any notable successes or limitations in this regard?
Actually, most of the countries guide the international universal declaration of human rights, and most of the countries are guided by this universal declaration of the human rights. But from country to country, there are certain restrictions now. Certain countries which are religiously biased, they have certain restrictions expressing religious ideas. Security concerns are there. So from from country to country, there are different concerns which limit the freedom of expression according to their constitutions or according to the laws of that particular country.
Now, Maisha would like to ask a question.
How do you perceive the current state of freedom of speech globally, and what specific challenges have you observed in your work as a human rights lawyer?
Yeah, especially while by using our freedom of speech when we are criticizing the government, we face a lot of issues and a lot of threats. And even when we are by using the freedom of speech, when we are criticizing the judiciary and the armed forces, so there are threats and there are certain barriers. They try to prevent us using freedom of speech in full.
Yes, we agree. And now Chiara would like to inquire something.
Can you share instances where individuals or groups have faced legal repercussions for expressing their opinions, and what implications does this have on
Now,
the broader concept of freedom of speech?
now if you check through the Google, the recent judgment on the Kodituak, it was pronounced, I think, 2 3 days back in Sri Lanka. He has stated certain things and criticized some of the judges. So he was punished for that. He by disenrolling from working as a lawyer, and now he is barred uh, from appearing as a even a litigant before the courts in individual capacity. So that is a very good example. And even some countries, we know some journalists have been killed, threatened. There are various instances. If you go through internet, you can find out. Because so I am restricting my answers because I am not well these days. I am under medication.
Okay. And now Arifa would like to ask something. Arifa, you're muted.
From your perspective, what strategies or changes in legal frameworks could contribute to strengthening and safeguarding freedom of speech on a global scale?
Yes, actually, it has to be a globally accepted uh, consensus, because all the countries and international organizations, International Human Rights Council also should come forward to uphold the freedom of speech, and they have to formulate the practices, the best practices that has to be employed or deployed in their countries. So once it's formulated, they should not be given any option to deviate from it, because there should be an international consensus. What are the things that are permitted to speak or express? What are the things that we are not entitled to speak?
And I would also like to ask if you can provide a brief historical overview of how the concept of freedom of speech has evolved and what key milestones or events have shaped its current understanding.
Actually, compared to the earlier situation now, we can uh, be satisfied with the existing situation, but it has to be developed further, because in some certain countries and certain regions, is still restricted. The freedom of speech is still not given and exercised in full. Therefore, like I have stated earlier, there should be globally accepted criteria and boundaries. What are the things a person is entitled to express on or speak on, and what are the things he is not entitled to speak?
Yes, I agree. And now Tharali also has a question.
From your perspective, what are the most significant challenges to freedom of speech in the contemporary world? And how have these challenges evolved with the rise of digital communication and social media?
Yeah, the social media and the electronic media, of course, uh, after its evolution, is utilized by most of the activists and most of the people to express their views. But now, in most of the countries, online safety acts was formulated to prevent people exercising their freedom through social media. That aspect also should be seriously taken into consideration by the international organizations, which are committed to uphold the freedom of speech.
And now Mash would like to ask.
I would say how do legal frameworks differ globally protecting freedom of speech? And are there notable examples of countries successfully balancing free expression with necessary limitations?
Yeah, we know that in some countries, especially where the religious leaders are governing, such as Muslim, Christian, and very Jews, they are uh, trying to restrict freedom of speech. Even the dictators are governing the governing the countries. They do not like to give the freedom of speech to its members of the country. Sorry, and even uh, some countries, freedom of speech is given only to adults. The children are barred. There are various issues from country to country according to their uh, norms and the customs.
And Chiara?
With the increasing influence of technology and social media, how do you see the landscape of freedom of speech changing, and what role do online platforms play in shaping public discourse?
I didn't get the question. I didn't get it.
Can you repeat?
Um, I, with the increasing influence of technology and social media, how do you see the landscape of freedom of speech changing, and what role do online platforms play in shaping public discourse?
Yeah, actually, it's with the development of the online platforms, the people tend to use these online platform to express their views freely. But as I stated, now the government are trying to restrict that by bringing in some online bills, online acts to restrict those free. Okay, then I
And
will.
we have one last question from Anita.
Okay. Balancing freedom of speech with the need to prevent harm in complex tasks. In your opinion, what are the key considerations when defining the limits of freedom of speech, especially in the context of hate speech and violence?
Yeah, actually, the freedom of speech should be given, but nobody should be permitted to tarnish the image of others and bring others into disreputation, and that should not be used to punish others, and even undue gain should not be achieved by using this.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. To conclude our interview with Sir Ravindranath Dabare, he has shed light on the complexities surrounding the concept of freedom of speech. Through your insights, it is evident that while freedom of speech is a fundamental right, it is not absolute and must be balanced with other societal interests, such as public safety and individual rights. Understanding the nuances of legal frameworks and limitations is crucial in navigating the ever-evolving landscape of free speech in today's world.
Thank you.
Okay, we would like to thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time and expert opinion.